Well, we knew it was going to happen. They went with Cam Ward. They got their future. Hopefully, he'll be their first franchise quarterback since Steve McNair. I can't believe it's been that long for Tennessee. Whoa, 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 whoa. You're telling me Jacksonville traded a number of picks, including a future first, to move up 3 spots to take Travis Hunter at 2nd overall? Honestly, I kind of like it. I kind of do. Jacksonville needed a big-time player that was going to be somebody that got the fans excited. Well, who better than Travis Hunter? And now he returns back to Florida, where he's from. I think the Jaguars are going to have some fun this year. And with Hunter, it's going to be interesting to see how much he really plays. Abdul Carter falls right in your lap. Top player in the entire draft. 3rd overall, you got to take him. Will Campbell made too much sense. You got to protect Drake May. The only knock on him was his short arms, and that might have been a little bit of an exaggeration. Well, you collect a future first, and then you get Mason Graham, the top interior defensive lineman in this draft, and a guy that is going to take a lot of pressure off of Myles Garrett. Way to go, Browns. You're setting up your future, and you got somebody that can make an impact day one. Please don't screw this up. Ashton Jeanty. There you go, Raiders. There you go. Now your running game can really take off. Hopefully the offensive line does their part. So the Jets go back-to-back first rounds taking an offensive tackle. They have their bookends, and hopefully Justin Fields is able to stay on his feet. Okay, I like it. McMillan at number 8. Perfect. It completes the receiving core, and it gives Bryce Young everything that he needs to succeed this year. If he can't get it done, you're going drafting for a quarterback next year. Okay, so the Saints go back-to-back first rounds, taking an offensive tackle, getting their bookends, and protecting for whoever plays quarterback for them. Wait, didn't I say the same thing for the Jets? Personally, I wouldn't have gone Loveland over Warren, but at the same time, there were people that had him very, very close. And when it comes to this, the Bears are looking to run a 2 tight end set. And hey, if it works, I can't complain. Mykel Williams. Honestly, if he didn't deal with a nagging injury throughout the entire season, he would have been gone way sooner. And I know, he was already the 11th overall pick. That's how talented he is. So the 49ers, they might have got themselves a big-time steal. Sam and I did think Tyler Booker was going to go earlier than expected, and that's exactly what happened. Wait a minute. Why do the Cowboys like taking offensive linemen whose first names begin with the letter T? Seriously, the only one that wasn't was Zach Martin, who he's replacing after he retired. Wait, what? Kenneth Grant to Miami. Wait a minute. Wasn't 13th overall where Christian Wilkins was taken? It doesn't matter. If he's even half the player that Wilkins was, Miami got a good one. So the Colts finally got their tight end. A lot of people didn't think it was going to fall to them, but Warren did. Nice job, Colts. Now, figure out your quarterback situation. Jalon Walker to the Atlanta Falcons. They need to do something at edge. They had ignored that for a long time. He may be undersized, but he plays bigger than his 6'1 frame. Arizona going Walter Nolan. I know they had a problem with Robert Nkemdiche. However, I think Nolan is a different player than that. If he develops, Arizona's going to get a wrecking ball in that interior of the defensive line. And he's got Calais Campbell to help him out. Campbell, there were concerns about him coming out of college too. Easy to forget that. Okay, this is a big-time risk by the Bengals. This is a guy that has tremendous talent but doesn't have the stats to back it up. If they can't develop Shemar Stewart, I don't know what happens with this team, but they did have to do something with defense, and if he does develop, you're talking a guy that can be just as good as Trey Hendrickson. Seattle getting offensive line just made way too much sense. They have got to protect Sam Darnold so that he can perform at his best. So, at the end of the day, I don't hate this, and I just love it when South Dakota State players get drafted. Emeka Egbuka from Ohio State. I really thought they were going to go edge, but going wide receiver makes so much sense too. He's going to be their future number 1 for when Mike Evans finally hangs it up. Jahdae Barron from Texas. While I expected them to take Hampton, I really don't mind this one bit. Their defense was the strength of that team last year, so continue to build on that. And, hey, there's still going to be offensive players on day 2 of the draft. Denver, if this works out for them, they could really make some noise next year. Okay, so you have Shedeur Sanders fall right into your lap. You don't take him, and you get Derrick Harmon as the potential replacement for future Hall of Famer Cam Haywood. Yeah, that's a classic Steelers pick. But seriously, what are you guys doing at quarterback? Chargers getting Omarion Hampton. Oh, I love it. He's going to team up with Najee Harris, and they are just going to be a great duo in that Jim Harbaugh offense. I think he's going to be Justin Herbert's best friend. He's going to take so much pressure off of him. Green Bay finally takes a receiver for the first time since 2002, which, by the way, Matthew Golden wasn't even born the last time they took a wide receiver, and I love this pick. One of the fastest players in the draft this year. Oh man, they're going to have a lot of fun with this kid. Donovan Jackson, I did not see him being the first Ohio State offensive lineman off the board, but at the end of the day, J.J. McCarthy's coming back from a knee injury. You have to make sure that he's protected, or else he could get hurt all over again. So I'm never going to complain about offensive linemen in the first round, especially guards. They don't get enough credit. Wow, so the Giants do a pick swap and give up 2 third-round picks for Jaxson Dart, one of my favorite players in the draft and a guy that I thought had the best deep ball out of anybody in the draft this year. Not to mention you have both Jameis Winston and Russell Wilson. I really do like this. I mean, I know a lot of people are surprised it wasn't Sanders, but at the end of the day, if he works out, he works out. And don't expect him to play like Eli Manning. This has nothing to do with Ole Miss. I'm sure it has everything to do with them liking him more just because of the player that he is, not the school that he went to, I hope. So Atlanta makes a bold trade, giving up a first-round pick in next year's draft to trade up and double down on edge rushers. Well, James Pearce Jr., if it wasn't for character concerns, probably would have been a top 15 pick. So this is a big-time steal. And again, Atlanta needed a lot of help at the edge position. And I mean a lot. I was just thinking there was one thing that you cannot let happen, and that's Malaki Starks getting to Baltimore, because they were going to jump right on that. Well, they did. And now they have a guy that completes that safety. Alright? That completes the safeties, because now he's at free, and Kyle Hamilton goes back up at the line. A lot of you are going to pay for that, NFL. Tyleik Williams. Another guy I didn't think was going to be taken in the first round, but at the end of the day, if he works out, he works out. And for the Lions, I'm never going to complain about defense, especially with what happened to them last year. So, him next to Aiden Hutchinson, that could be a scary combination for offenses. Washington gets Larry Tunsil for their left tackle, and then they get their right tackle in Josh Conerly. We'll see if he plays day one. He might not. However, if he works out, they got a great bookend duo with those two. You got to protect your quarterback. Maxwell Hairston, probably the fastest corner in the draft this year, and he's probably going to be the one guarding Xavier Worthy, who the Chiefs took in last year's draft. Yeah, they have to do everything they can to get by the Chiefs. It's the only way they're going to get to the Super Bowl. I was just talking about Baltimore getting a player that they probably shouldn't have gotten, and it's the same thing with the Eagles. How do you let Jihaad Campbell fall? They even made sure to trade up one spot so that nobody else could take him. Oh man, NFL, you really dropped the ball on this one. Josh Simmons, if it wasn't for the injuries, he would have been gone earlier, so him going to the Chiefs, I think, is a good move for them. They have to make sure that the offensive line is set up for years to come. And again, I'm never going to complain about offensive line. If he's healthy and he's back to the player that he was at Ohio State, Kansas City, they got themselves a really good offensive lineman. What's going on, guys? So that was my reaction to all of the first-round picks. And I think the biggest surprise for a lot of people was probably Shedeur Sanders not being taken in the first round. But you know what? In the NFL, it doesn't matter where you're drafted. All that matters is what happens once you get on the field. So the story is not yet set for Sanders or any of these draft picks, and day 2 of the draft, that's going to lead to a lot more excitement, and I can't wait for it. See you guys next time.